also been affected. It will be interesting to find out how the hospitals are coping, because the hospitals also use internet.
That's right.
Yeah, and it will be interesting to know how the hospitals are being affected. And let's speak to another expert in this area. Maximus Ametogo is a technology analyst, and he joins us on the phone line now. Maximus, good morning. Thank you very much for your time.
Good morning, George.
Great. Good to have you. The internet connectivity issues that we have, is it a work of the devil?
It depends on how you define the devil. Yeah, it depends on how you define the devil. For me, they are yet to come up with the actual cause for the outage or damage, right? So I'm sure as they investigate, we get to know more about what really caused it.
I see. Now, in layman's term, we're talking about undersea cable and disruption, and it's affected data services. But for the ordinary man who doesn't know anything about this, how would you explain it to them in very simple terms?
Yeah, so, internet is like the way you have electricity. So you have electricity maybe coming from the dam. They have to wire electricity across long distances for it to terminate to a transformer in your area, which will be distributed to your house using another pole. And then in your house, you have cables through your walls to all the sockets that you can plug your devices and all that. That's how the internet is also like. So we have cables coming from outside of Ghana, so from Portugal and then other, I think Portugal, London. So it depends on where your source is coming from. And it's run under the sea to Ghana so that we can access content external of Ghana, because you can also build a local system where you can consume content locally without you going outside of Ghana, right? But you still need all those physical connections. That's why the telcos lay cables by the roadside. That's why they use cables, maybe overhead cables on poles to our homes and all that. So for internet to work, you need that physical infrastructure for it to work.
I see. Now, the government has been explaining to us that it would take a minimum of 5 weeks for full service restoration from the time that the vessels are dispatched to the various locations. Next door in Ivory Coast, we are learning that they have been able to solve their problem, even though they were the most or the worst affected. Question: what are we not doing right, and what are we, not getting at this time?
Yeah, so the issue is that is the cable service providers and then the network people in consultation with the NCA, they gave that particular timeline. So it's not government, it's the industry people who gave that 5 weeks time band for restoration of full service. So what happens is that we have about 6 cables delivering internet across our coast, right? The West Coast and even to South Africa and other Eastern Africa countries. So you see the cable running. If you see the graph, the diagram, it runs from Portugal and around Africa, right? So what happens is that some countries, not all the cables had issues. Right, so we have 6 cables, and the four cables had issues, and these cables are laid almost about 100 meters interval. So it's not like they are all in one pipe and the pipe got snapped, and then Ivory Coast has been able to repair theirs, and we haven't repaired ours, right? But all these 6 cables, they deliver services to different internet service providers or mobile networks across different countries. So our major ones are the ones that have been affected. In Ivory Coast, they have a telecom service called Move, and I think Orange and the rest, or what we call Orange, they've moved on to the Move, and that's what they call a redundancy. So it's like having 2 water pipes to your house, and one is the main one. When that one gets leakage and there's a break, you can connect to the other one that doesn't, maybe goes to your neighbor's house, right? So that you get water whilst you resolve the line that comes directly to your house. So what the Move and Ivory Coast they've done is to, hop on to the other network cable that didn't have any issue as redundancy. So they may not have full service because this is about volume and capacity, but you still will have some connections here and there. So Ghana, that's the same issue. So we've hopped on to other redundancies or other networks so that while MTN and the rest are resolving their main issue, so they've hopped on to other service providers. That's why we can still post, check emails, as if the system is almost back, right? Because we are using other service providers network, while the main one is being resolved.
Okay.
So that is the gravity of the issue is because of 4 cables having issues at the same time. If it were 2 or 1, that wouldn't have caused any problem.
Maximus, I want to thank you very much indeed for your time this morning. We're grateful.
Thank you.
And that's Maximus Metogo. He is a technology analyst. Joining me in studio now is the director of Africa Digital Economy Forum, Derek Barnabas Lai. Good morning, Derek. How are you doing?
I'm fine, Johnny. It's been a while.
Good to see you in flesh and blood. How deep is the trouble that we have found ourselves in?
That's a broad question. Let me just first start by saying that for anybody listening to us today and you're just a user of a telecom services, you don't care who is Wax, who is ACE, who is SAT3. You don't Glow One. You don't need to know any of these things. All you want to know is that I bought credit and my credit should work.
Fantastic.
Unfortunately, we are having to run literate and illiterates through all of this whole web of complexities and technical explanations, which is unnecessary for the want of a better word. Let me just put it in simple summary what's happening.
Right.
The way Gridco provides capacity to ECG, and ECG distributes the electricity to our homes. That's the same way submarine companies or submarine cabling companies provide capacity to telcos. And the telcos convert that capacity into data and voice services, providing us high-speed internet and reliable data and voice services and all of the likes. That's a simple summary of what's happening. So there's a challenge with the submarine operators right now.
Right.
Nobody knows them because the customers do not interface with them.
That's right.
They only provide services to our telecells, our Airtel, Tigos, and our Vodafone, MTNs and the rest. So what we're learning is that there were the 2 issues and we need to separate them. I'm hearing terrorist activity, this and this and that and that.
You can throw in Mami Water in the water.
Mami Water said digitization, people have stored the tea and all. I've heard all sorts of narratives. The most important thing to put in perspective is that 2 weeks ago, before last week, there was a submarine attack. Nobody knows exactly how it happened, but we feel that because ships are dropping anchors right now within the Gulf of Aden to get clearance to go through that route or that route, what's happening is that we feel somebody had dropped an anchor and maybe it burst. And that these cables were Seacom and EIG. These are 2 cables.
Okay.
They come all the way from Europe, all the way down to Southern Africa. That's the way the submarine cables have always been built. They are built from a side. They work on the left part of, let's say, they come from the top, walk around Senegal all the way down through the east, come to the west, come all the way down. It comes to end usually around Southern Africa.
Okay.
So that cable was supplying Southern Africa mostly. So this was a problem with Southern Africa. Then just before they were dealing with it, because they had resolved it largely by getting redundancies, then Western Africa and Eastern Africa saw our own happen the week after. And ours is basically what we are learning, some seismic activity, almost like an earthquake underwater. Okay. And basically the way it happened, it's ruptured about 4 of the main cables that supply capacity to Ghana.
Right.
And so what's happening is that then the one went completely off, but the 3 were providing 10% capacity each. And which it means that's very small, because if I'm providing you 100% value of even my work, I come to work, I give you 100%.
Right.
Then today I come, I say I'm working 10%. It means that probably after 1 hour I might not do anything again.
That's correct.
So you have very little resources available to you. So what the telco started doing from Thursday, if you could see, it's an IP-based conversation. And so what they were doing is they were prioritizing their
that's
data.
why your text.
So you can realize the text will go on WhatsApp, but pictures will not go.
That's right.
Videos will not go.
Yes.
But they were prioritizing just some particular apps.
Okay.
And then also they were prioritizing voice calls.
Why were they doing that?
Because of emergency.
Okay.
So if everybody goes off and there's a complete blackout, that's a national security disaster. It means that I could come here right now to 3FM and come and start doing chobo and doing gidi here, and you cannot even call the police for assistance.
Right.
So you prioritize at least the phone calls so people can be able to call in case of emergency. Those who want to talk to people can talk to them and all of those things. So that's what happened. But also what was also helping was that some of the content providers like Google and the likes have brought data centers. Sometimes you hear a company is building a data center in Finland underwater.
What's going on?
And you're like, what's going on? So you bring the content resource closer to the region. So because today, let's say in the past, when I want to stream, I have to now use my internet data to stream, let's say from source, maybe Netherlands, where Netflix is headquartered, and they have their data centers there. But when Netflix says that we have provided a data center maybe around Southern Africa or maybe around Africa, so it means that now, instead of my data traveling all the way far
and coming back,
it's just going a shorter distance. So if you notice in the past, if you are streaming, you could probably take like 4 seconds before the video will start playing.
Right.
But today, when you click, the video is sitting in your bedroom.
That's right.
And but that's the phase that we have seen technology growing. Where
that's the essence of the data centers that we're talking about.
Exactly. And then also the system of caching. When you say caching, what it also means is that people use Google a lot on their phone. If you put your phone on airplay mode and open the Google web app, it will open the Google app for you.
Okay.
If you check a page that maybe you want, some of the pages, I'm not saying all, depending on what has been stored in cache, it will open. And it could make it look as if you are on the internet, but it's basically your system that has stored some specific data
memory
related to some cache memory. So sometimes you can hear clear cache.
Right.
So you can see the cache is about 180 something. I go like, hey, what is 180 something megabytes?
Let me clear this.
Let me clear and save some space on my phone. But that caching is basically stored pages that you are likely to go to, or you possibly go to a lot more, and then these pages open. But when you want to open a new page, it might not open.
I see.
So one of the things that even if you what the NCA statement was talking about was, if you look at number 7, it talks about a Ghana Internet Exchange that allows basically service providers and then also content providers to effectively participate in and be able to ensure efficient local content delivery, because there are certain contents that are very specific to us. So you can put them within that internet exchange or that database or that directory, so that in times like this, there are certain common specific places that people go to that they can easily just enter and be able to get support rather than having to rely on the full internet resource. So in summary, this is what is going on.
5 weeks, a minimum of 5 weeks. Yeah. That's when we expected to get out of this. It could be more.
Johnny,
is it good timing?
When I came here on Thursday, I told Alfred that my estimation, and this was like before the people who are looking at the thing directly are started saying first. I said my estimation was 2 months.
You said 2 months.
I said 2 months. Because it's not that easy as it sounds. Okay. You already imagine we talk fiber cuts in my last life at the chamber. And when you have to correct the fiber, you have to go and fix fiber cut. It's not easy. How much more when you have to deal with it in the fiber lying in water? So it's a pretty complex and technical engagement. And it's not a service that is even, we don't have plenty of people that know how to do it. So the cuts that happened 2 weeks ago, there was also some infractions in Portugal. What I know is that most of these technical submarine cable fixing companies and stuff, they've all gone there and they are working in those regions. So now it's now that they're trying to get some 1 or 2. That's why you see the statement is carefully saying that from the point where the vessels are dispatched, it means that the vessels are not with us. They are sitting in other places doing work in other places. So until they are dispatched before your 5 weeks might happen. So maybe one might say, oh, looks like where we reach, I can leave and go and help the Western African people or the Eastern African people. It happens like that. So that's why in my head I said 2 months.
2 months, okay.
So
that's because of the extent of the damage that has been done.
The damage, and because you're dealing with four major cuts right now.
Okay.
And then also you are looking at the fact that the people that can repair are not even here with us.
Okay.
So that's the reason why I said 2 months.
But how many cables have been disrupted?
Four major ones.
4.
Indeed, they act as redundancies. Indeed, one can even serve.
Okay.
So the way it was is 4. So when one cuts, you can move to 2.
That's right.
When 2 cuts, you can move to 3.
Right.
Now almost all the 4 are struggling because all the 4 are doing 10% and one is completely off. So that's the challenge that we have. But also good news is that there's a company called 2Africa.
Okay.
In fact, it's a consortium. The likes of Meta are in there. Telecom Egypt are in there. Baobab, which used to be MTN Business, is in there.
Right.
You have China Mobile. So there are about 8 of them. And what they're doing is that they're also building a submarine fiber optic cable. And interestingly, theirs is different from what we have right now because they're going around the whole of Africa. It's never happened. All of them usually go on one side of Africa.
Right.
This time around, the cables are going around. It's about 45 kilometers. It goes into Pakistan, Iran, Iraq, India, Oman. It goes all the way, and all the old existing routes where there are other cables. And it's 45,000 kilometers. People might say, what's all this? 45,000 kilometers means it's a lot. And the thing is, to build 1 kilometer is between $30,000 to $50,000 to build 1 kilometer of submarine cable. So if you are doing 45 kilometers, that's about $3 point something billion.
Right.
That's no money that is lying down for governments to take and use to build. That's how come you see private investment
getting in there.
Yeah, they build.
When that is done, what would it mean?
What it means is that today, like I said, because the cable is lying on one side,
right,
it cuts, and that's it. So it means that if it cuts around, let's say Senegal, all of the people coming down lose connectivity.
Right.
But when it's going round and it cuts on one side, you can go anti-clockwise and reroute. So let's say this is let's use Ghana.
Okay.
This is Ghana. The cable cuts here. Let's say all the submarine cables cut here. It means
that's from the Togo side.
Yeah. So let's say Ghana. Yeah. So Ghana to Togo.
Okay.
So let's say from Togo to Ghana.
Okay.
It cuts. When it cuts, what happens is that now you can reroute the service coming that is not being able to come.
Okay.
You can take it round backwards.
All right.
And come and supply and even come all the way back. So if it happened in Togo or it happened in Cote d'Ivoire, you can come to Ghana. And maybe be dealing with the
Togo.
Where the problem happened is probably where the problem will stay for you to rectify.
Okay.
But you keep resolving it, and people will still be connected. And that takes a shorter time to repair. They docked their submarine cable in Ghana just February last month.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we're getting closer.
And the plan is to go live between Q3 to Q4. And that's one of the things I've consistently said, that we're hoping that maybe the government can be able to support that immediate rollout so that we can be able to go live immediately.
Ivory Coast has been able to fix their issues largely, we're told. Why are we lacking behind?
Let me respond by saying that Ghana has also been able to fix its issues. I won't say largely, but to a great extent. You see, the conversations happening right now are not even government-based.
Okay.
They are private bilateral conversations. If you listen to the main one, or you read the main one statement on Saturday, it says they're already declaring force majeure because there are liabilities that they are probably likely to be sued for, and they are basically force majeure is in the contract. So you can't do me anything. I didn't go and cut it.
That's right.
So I'm not able to provide the service right now, not because it's my fault, but it's because it happened as an act of God and all of those things. So Ivory Coast, I'm hearing. I need to speak to people I know there to check. But Ghana is also not doing too terrible. Like, considering where we were on Thursday, look, Liberia was off completely. I'm supposed to be in Liberia this week, and when I get there, I'll text you how things are now, because Liberia is completely off. Like, it was completely off as at Thursday, when we were even being able to send 1 or 2 messages. They couldn't even do anything for like a whole 28 to 40 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. Before I think they got some little capacity that they started being able to also see some messages here and there. It's that terrible. So every country, it might differ from country to country. It's almost as if Media General is competing for, let's say, maybe a media house in Nigeria to be able to sponsor, to be able to broadcast AFCON.
Right, AFCON,
and then we'll hear that maybe Media General has gotten it yet. AFCON, maybe Nigeria's own is also now looking for the support to be able to also broadcast the rights related to. So what that simply means is that we cannot look at it as country by country and begin to say that maybe our government is not doing something right. They are just private bilateral conversations, commercial in nature, based on we are making money. And so we are doing the right thing. And it's got nothing to do with Esla here or maybe another minister somewhere else. It's rather a conversation where maybe the governments can also sometimes be able to engage and ask, how are you doing? Because if you look at the case of NCA, that statement you see there, that 7-worded statement you see there,
the paragraph,
90% of the paragraphs in there, it's not coming from NCA. It's based on what they have been told
from
by
the external,
by the existing telcos, as in the conversations they're having with their submarine partners. This is where we are, and as a group of telcos operating here, this is where we are, and we all agree that this is the position of the industry right now. And the industry,
but the Tigo is able to work, and because of that, there's been a spike in the price for the SIM cards.
I heard they are selling it for 10 cedis.
Yes, no, it's gone 100, 150 cedis, and people are selling.
It's a hot commodity.
It's a hot cake now. People are. I mean, how are they able to do all of that in the midst of all the confusion?
So somebody too will say that how are you able to be on a little bit of MTN is working, but maybe Telecel is really struggling badly. It's just sometimes really the setup of the network. It could impact things greatly. It could impact things greatly, whether positively or negatively. So Airtel Tigo was pretty decent. They had a pretty decent experience as compared to even MTN. And don't forget, MTN has even way more infrastructure than Airtel Tigo has. That's something that sometimes it's just the setup and basically how it can play out. You could even have less subscribers.
Right.
Or you could have people doing lesser things on your network, and that could basically leave capacity hanging for consumers to be able to tap into. So,
how about those who are losing their work, who do remote, work, and they're on the verge of losing their jobs, or they have already lost their jobs? Is there any hope for them?
That's a very sad experience, because I was talking about it even over the weekend. One of the things I was doing was trying to give people's numbers to friends who are running co-work sharing spaces, because I know people who have interviews this morning at 10 a.m.
Right.
I know about 3 friends who hit me up, and I said, look, I'm trying to see how we can help so we can get alternative internet. I had over 100 and something people reach out to me. I've just not been able to take care of everybody. Right now, I'm even asking a friend if we could get a house, so that people who want to go and maybe sit in there and try and get them a generator and then also provide them some alternative technology, they can be able to get access to the internet so that they can be able to stay ready. Because somebody lost their job on Thursday. I'm sure you saw.
Yes, I saw it.
So one of our friends discussing it on social media. And basically he was on a 3 months probation. And they said, look, just 2 days. For maybe they want to sack you already, but
but they'll use just waiting for something.
They are looking for something. Now the internet has given them an opportunity for them to be able to let you go. And 3,000 euros in this market for any young professional,
it's good money.
It's good money to be able to save family and the dependencies that basically you are connected to. So I was very, very happy to see that. One of the things that we're trying to do, so beyond some of the trying to find co-work spaces and co-work sharing spaces where you can be able to have access to, I think also people also just need to practice a lot of also cyber hygiene.
Right.
I've always said that people use smartphones, but the phones are smarter than them. Even there are things on my phone that really I don't know. I use almost a 24 Ultra. I don't know some of the things that are on the device. So it's very normal to say that the phone is smarter than me.
Right.
So there are things that we just need to learn. If you don't need to stream right now, avoid it. Avoid it, because there are places where you can just pick files from without necessarily having to go stream them.
Right.
2, people are having to also plan your schedule. You're a young professional.
Right.
You know you have a meeting with the client.
Right.
You are doing business. I do different types of things. The only thing I don't do is hell human parts. I always tell people, but I do anything. I do my best. So one of the things you do is that right now, if I have to have a meeting with a client, we want to connect over the internet. I'm not home. It's home where I know I have a lot of safe options.
Right.
When I'm out, I'm struggling with my mobile broadband. I tell people, can we have a call at 9? Can we have a call at 2 a.m.? Depending on your region, then you just have to stay awake and do them, because usually what's going to happen is that if you notice even on Friday, from like 9 p.m., 10 p.m., it begins to stabilize a bit, because people are sleeping.
That's right.
So it's almost like off-peak experience, like we see with the ECG. People are sleeping. So that's when you see a lot of the data resources being available for people who want to use them. So begin to shift your meetings around. If it will suit whoever you are doing business with, you want to talk to an international partner in China, you can start dealing with them at 2 a.m. Because they will be up. By the time you want to speak to them.
your people will be asleep, so you have faster internet.
So these are some of the things that people need to look at, some of the options that you need to consider, so that you can stay productive and efficient, and also be able to save job and make some money for family.
Helen,
quick one. I wanted to find out, what are the dangers of bypassing these walls using VPN? So a lot of people are resorting to VPN. Is that advisable?
Well, it's not something I would advise.
Okay.
And even before I'd explain anything, I'll say that because it's not something that has been proposed by the one who provides you the technology.
Okay.
No telco has till now provided, let's say, a statement to say that go on this VPN and go and bypass so and so and do that and that.
Sure.
It's something that was provided by some techies. But you see, when you go on some of these VPNs, you are exposed from a cybersecurity perspective. Some of the security web pages that can be prompted, you can be prompted on not to go on. When you go on VPN, sometimes it bypasses them.
Okay.
So you are basically exposed to all sorts of things that typically, if you were staying safe on the network directly, you probably will be guided and safe from, because the network basically will filter for you. But right now, you're bypassing some of the network's safety mechanisms, and you might probably get a bit more better experience but it comes with risk as well. And that's not something I would advise at all.
But what do you leave us with, wrapping up this conversation? We know that people at this point are sitting on tenterhooks. People are not so excited. They have got the release from the NCA, you have explained, Maximus has explained, but next what?
Thankfully, as we look into having some little capacity that can enable us stay productive and relevant, we can look into the future where we will be restored fully, like we used to be in the past. But I feel for me, there's learnings for everybody. There's learnings for, let me start with the user. Today, you know that there are certain things that you are probably doing on your phone you shouldn't be doing, because you have every app, every app you see, you download. Everything, there. You see Tinder, you download. You see Bumble, you download.
Snapchat,
you see Snapchat,
everything.
Every app, you have some on your phone, as if we are competing for whose phones has the many apps. It's not a safe practice. It's not best phone hygiene practices at all, because you're going to have all of these apps consistently trying to ping. Remote service. That's how come you have exactly 10 CDs credit airtime. You go and sleep. You put your phone down. You wake up and maybe your airtime is maybe 9.4. Some 60 pesos is gone, because the phone is intermittently talking to remote service and working behind the scenes, and you don't even know about it. So users today are getting to know that it's not every app I need to download. It's not everything I need to see and start streaming. Like the way I made a post about how our mothers, when you put our mothers on WhatsApp, any video they will share
and download.
Anything is an advice. Early morning, my children, and then they'll start sharing them. These are times where you need to also talk to the old folks and tell them that for now we beg you, hold on sharing videos and opening. Some of these videos are unnecessary. And then also I think that for people also generally, I think the whole idea of focusing on offline activities or using offline alternatives is a great tool. It's not all the time you need to maybe be on OneDrive, try and be able to access apps on online and all those things. There's also spreadsheet. You can work on spreadsheets.
That's right.
You can work on presentations, PowerPoint presentations, as we know them. You can work on other types of word processing files without necessarily having to go and use maybe OneDrive, where it's consistently talking to the data and making you lose connectivity and the likes. Let me even move a bit from and then come to maybe the service providers. A service provider can provide you network, but they will never sign a contract with you that will say we'll provide you 100% flawless service.
They will be shooting themselves in the foot.
It will typically be 99.999. It means there's a 0.0001% that is likely to impact something someday. That's one of the things we've seen this last week. We've enjoyed, Charlie, trust me, over the last few years.
We've enjoyed
sweet. We've enjoyed power. Today we've seen what that 0.0001 means, and that's also the safe haven for operators. And we are hoping that in the future, as we've seen 2Africa and the likes also come on board, we can be able to make better use of the capacity.
What's our plan B as a country?
As a country,
yes.
Well, we cannot build our own submarine cable as a country. So we can do things like Ghana Internet Exchange. And be able to house existing data locally. Some of the very commonly used applications and content. House them internally so that even when there's downtime, customers can be able to just be in on your network, be able to go to these places and use them. The great thing about expanding the internet exchange database or platforms also is that it saves customers data, because it means that typically things that they have to spend data to go and stream, they're now having to just access it within their network, and that's a safe way. It's faster and also gives you much more savings, cost savings for your internet. Then for governments, policy has to look at some of these things and be able to work with the providers to streamline the services. Policy has to also support the rollout of other technologies that can enable alternative connectivity support for such future occurrences of this nature.
Director of Africa Digital Economy Forum, Derek Barnabas-Lai, popularly known as Pope. Good to see you, champion.
Good to see you, my
champion
brother.
Jibo. Anyebo.
Blow my Jibo.
Anyebo, Charlie. That big bumbo. Anyebo. I was just showing a picture of Foster Clarks to Roland not so long ago. And I told him you guys used to bring Foster Clarks back to school.
Charlie.
All the boys and Charlie. Good to see you, Paul. I wish you all the best. Thank you very much for making things simple for us this morning and for. So I hope, folks, that you have the explanation you've been looking for. Helen, No questions.
No questions
You're not going to
asked.
say the whole show.
I'm discharged.
Yes.
I mean, it's the time frame that is at this point
That's
a
your
bit
concern.
a bit worrisome.
Practice
A bit
hygiene.
worrisome. I think on Friday I was put to the test. The satellite navigation services, the Google Maps, they weren't working, so I had to go old school. Udru half far left, Huma Antiama far right.
Watch it run.
Go
away.
and 10 right, 10 left. So taking it back to basics. But this is some good education, especially on going offline. We're
Right.
too used to going online for everything, but there's spreadsheets and PowerPoint presentations that you can use whilst you're not you rinsing all your data.
You can make some real friends and have real conversations.
Yeah, somebody said they use the time to get to know their family members. They're not bad like that, so we move.
Okay, guys. Let me give you an opportunity to also tell us what's on your mind this morning regarding this issue. 0559242717.